Okay, I'm super excited because today I'm giving you the ultimate guide to business fulfillment. And my personal mission and the mission of Clutch Businesses is for every woman to live fulfilled from start to finish every single day. And what I see in business oftentimes is that you start out with a super killer idea and then you build that super killer idea. And you're excited and you're thriving and you're loving life. And people are really starting to love you and what you're selling. And then at some point, the business starts to separate you from the product or the service that you came here to offer the world. And you're in the weeds of being a business owner and probably questioning, like, what the hell did you get yourself into? And ending the day probably not feeling super fulfilled. So let's get you back to that place of, on top of the worldness. And I recognize that it might not feel possible at this point, right? Like it just doesn't seem like there's an end to this. And so I want to show you a few ways that you can make that happen. And ultimately, at the core of everything that we're going to talk about, and at the core of everything that we want for you is for you to feel fulfilled in your business. And in order for that to happen, you've got to have three things in place. So the first is to document and build your business library. So this is documenting, all of the parts of your business. And then you also want to start to make friends with some robots in the year 2022 and streamline and automate really like anything and everything you can in your business. And then that allows you to really start to shine, to really start to work and implement everything that you can in your business, right? Like just really go after it. And what the world looks like without these things in place is like just a giant sad face. So you're broke, you are burned out, and you're spending your time doing things that you're not passionate about at all, which ends up keeping you really small, playing really small and not realizing all the potential within your business. So you are just like cruising around on a giant struggle bus, right? And it doesn't have to be that way, but let's talk about how we can, live in the world of fulfillment and not in the world of struggle bus. Okay. So we'll dive into each of these a little bit deeper and get an understanding of what they can look like. So let's talk first about documenting. So I was painting the other day, painting a wall in the house, and I, was prepping the wall with, putting out the blue tape. So putting blue tape around all of the edges and things like that. And I realized that it was actually kind of a great analogy for, documenting things in your business and really anything that we're talking about today. So there are, what I realized is that there are blue tape people and there are like free range painters. And, people who don't put the blue tape in place and they just do it all by hand. And, what I realized is that the blue tape is not something that like, I don't love that part of painting, but what it does allow me to do is to enjoy the rest of the painting process. So with those things in place, with that paint or, with that tape in place, I'm able to enjoy the painting. And without that tape in place, I really have to focus like all my energy on every single move, on every single stroke. And notoriously, my wrist is going to get tired or the paintbrush is going to slip or something. And boom, I've got, a huge glob of paint outside of the lines. And so all of this time and energy that I put into painting this beautiful wall, this beautiful color is going to look like total trash at the end because I couldn't maintain that focus the entire time. And I also didn't enjoy myself because I was so laser focused, right? And so how do we put that blue tape in place in our business so that we can enjoy and kind of protect and guard against the things that are notoriously going to go wrong in a business so that the business doesn't come crumbling down to the ground when something goes wrong? So the first thing is to do a giant Hearty brain dump. So take the information in your head and get it out on paper, so that other people can see and witness and do stuff with it, right? And the one thing that I want to say in this is that, you probably feel like No one can do things like you. And I am 100% not going to argue with that because I actually know that it is true. You have something very, very special to share with the world. You have a special approach. You have a special gift, and nobody can do it like you. And so, that is a hard truth. If you leave people with a blank piece of paper, what they come away with is going to be completely different than what you would do with it. But whether it is your branding, whether it's your customer service, whether it's, packing boxes, whatever it is in your business, once you've done it a few times, you have a pretty good sense of what you want, and you can fill in that blank piece of paper with all your preferences, with all your insights, with all your perfectionism, and let somebody else run with it. And the reason that you can do that is because you're telling them exactly what to do, right? There's no question. And that will cover the majority of the questions that customers are going to ask, the majority of issues that pop up. All of the things that are going to show up in your business is covered, it's covering the majority of those. And then they can come to you with anything that falls outside of what you've got in place and what you've got established. And then you can just keep building that business library together and, continue to have more and more information and more things that people can go to outside of you. So I was talking to a client just recently, and there's, a piece of her business that she, is important to the business, but it's not important for her to be doing it. And she said, I know that there, we have so many opportunities just waiting outside the door for us. And that's what I should be focusing on. But I'm too much of a perfectionist that I can't let go of this one thing. And, I think that resonates with a lot of us, a lot of business owners that, it's hard to let go. And my challenge to that is that perfectionism or delegating does not mean that you have to let go of that perfection or that you have to lower your standards. All you need to do is communicate those standards, communicate those expectations in a way that other people can hear and understand and take action with. And then, you are serving your customers. You don't have to be okay with typos. You don't have to be okay with wonky, colors and designs and all of that kind of stuff. And you don't have to be okay with, talking to customers in a way that doesn't represent your brand. So as long as you're able to establish those things, it is easy, very easy to pass it off to somebody else and then deal with the exceptions, which frees up a lot of your time. And so that's step one, is to do a giant Hearty brain dump. And then we want to take a ride down Money River to see where your money is going and if the flow is going in the right direction. So review your expenses, look at the platforms that you're paying for, and, really, like, chances are that you've gotten this far because you were just getting shit done, right? And kind of living a rock and roll lifestyle. But that rock and roll lifestyle was probably a little fast and loose because you were working quickly and ultimately you were doing what needed to be done. And there is nothing wrong with that. It totally served a purpose. But now you get to take a step back and see if you need everything that you have in place, or if maybe you can trim some of that back. And maybe you'll find that you're actually not spending enough and it's holding you back from the growth that's possible in your business. So once you've done the brain dump, once you've gone down Money River, you have an opportunity to then build your business GPS. And the way that you do this is by establishing metrics and a way to track those metrics. So if you take a minute and think about how can you feel confident and trust others if there isn't a way for you to measure their work. And then I want to flip that and ask, how can others feel empowered if they don't know where they're going, right? So it is important to look at this from two different sides, because people can really surprise you if you take them along for the ride with you. So having trackable measures in place for every part of your business will also give you the confidence in what's happening without having to be the one that is doing and seeing everything firsthand. So I think we get into the weeds in business oftentimes because it's the only way that we feel like we can get a handle on what's actually happening, who's doing what, how things are being done, and does that represent what you want from your business. But if you've got these metrics in place and you're tracking them regularly, you have like more of a view, more of a story than if you're down focusing on doing something, somebody else is doing something over here. You don't know what they're doing because you're so focused on this. So having metrics in place and looking at those regularly or tracking them regularly gives you a bird's eye view, a better view than when you're actually in the weeds doing this kind of stuff. And then you know that it's getting done, and you know that it's getting done in a way that is serving your business because you can see the numbers grow, or if it's not, you can see the numbers drop. And then you avoid, popping awake at night, like, oh my gosh, did this get done? Did I remember to tell this person this? Do we need to focus on this instead of this? All of it is very clear, and you can get a good night's rest, right? So that's what documenting looks like in your business. And then once you've got that in place, you can start to automate and streamline. And the first step of that is to sort it out. So you want to make sure that your platforms are working for you and not against you, and that you are really using your platforms to the fullest potential. So my favorite example of this is Mailchimp, not because I love Mailchimp, but because, back in the day, Mailchimp and Constant Contact were just newsletter software. All you could do was send out a newsletter or an email to a big group of people at one time. And now, as their business grew and as their client base grew and as their clients' needs changed and grew, they added different services. So with Mailchimp now, I think you can build a website with your Mailchimp, with your subscription. I think you can build landing pages, you can build workflow automations, you can build beautiful email sequences that, are really inviting and engaging with your clients. And so there's a lot that you can do with that. And I don't even think I'm scratching the surface. I think you can even have an e-commerce store so you can sell products using Mailchimp now. And so there's a lot of things that you can use that for, but back in the day, you could only use that for one thing. And so chances are a lot of the things that you have started out only offering one thing, but now they've got a whole slew of things that you can do with them. And so maybe there's an opportunity to consolidate those things and, taper back on what you're using and, clarify like where people go for information and all of that type of stuff within your organization. So then we want to look at how to plug the joy drain. So there are plenty of repetitive tasks that suck time and joy in a business. Or there are also tasks that suck joy because it seems like something is always going wrong with them. So something is always getting missed. Somebody is always upset or not getting what, you promised that they were going to get. And there's an opportunity to remove the human error that exists within a lot of these repetitive things or a lot of these really important tasks that aren't important in a customer, not in a customer engagement sort of way. And that's probably not the right way to say that, but you're not engaging necessarily, or it's not important that it's a personalized engagement, right? So if there are too many steps in a process, it is going to be really hard for somebody to repeat that without error, without issue every single time. And so those types of things are huge they're ripe with opportunities for automation. And an example that comes to mind is, I used to work at a retailer and, a product manufacturer and retailer. And this was back in the day, but when an order would come in, the customer service team would print that order out, walk downstairs to the warehouse and hand it to the person that was going to ship it out. And the customer doesn't need that. They don't need you to personalize that experience, right? They just need the order to get from them to the warehouse so that their product can get shipped to them. And actually, when you think about it, the 5 to 10 minutes that it took for that person to walk that downstairs and then come back upstairs was 5 to 10 minutes that they could have been sitting at their desk, interacting with customers, engaging them in conversation, getting to know them and what they were looking for. But instead, they were spending that time walking downstairs, doing something that, it didn't require their skill set, right? And so you want to look for things like that within your business. And then the next thing is, to take that a step further and make a clear invitation for your customers. So you need customers or clients to have a thriving business. And you can't sit down yourself with every single potential client and have a conversation with them before they become a client. It's not going to be possible. So, you want to be clear. Are you having, a BYOB rager, or are you having a black tie dinner? I know that none of us are doing those things, offering those businesses, but you want to make sure that they understand what they're going to be getting from you. And you want it to be very clear. So your website, any public materials that you're putting out there should answer all the questions that potential clients could have so that you don't have to. And your staff should be able to repeat that repeat that information along with your values to anybody that they interact with. So if it's not clear to them, if they're struggling to find the words, if they're struggling to describe these types of things, chances are it's not clear to your customers. So that's a huge opportunity to kind of, clear things out, clear things off of your plate. And then once you've got, things documented, once you've got your automations in place, then you can start to really work it, right? So you can start to really shine because now you've got some time, you've got some energy, because the things that were, really draining your energy, really draining, what you were able to invest in your business are taken care of. And you've got confidence in your team. Everything is documented and your team is totally rocking it. So once you get to that point, you get to work your strengths. And I mean this for real. So is accounting your strength? How about packing boxes? So unless that's actually your business, I would guess not. And so if it's not the reason you started a business or why people work with you, then don't lend your headspace or your energy to it. Let somebody else who loves doing those things hear the principles that are important to you, and then let them run with it, right? You've got the parameters in place. So once you've got that, then, we've kind of talked about this in everything that we've gone over so far, but teamwork makes the freaking dream work. So because you love, people are going to love what you do. That's just the bottom line. You're going to grow as a result of that. And at some point, you're going to grow so far that you're not able to do it all. So you need somebody else to help you with all the things, right? And because you've got everything automated, you've got everything documented, it's going to be a breeze to bring people into your team and get you and them set up for success from the very beginning. So what oftentimes it can be a scary thing, bringing on staff, bringing on a team, becomes kind of, it feels comfortable and safe and something that you have, again, some confidence behind. And then that frees you up to just love up on your customers. So your customers don't need you to do the basics, right? They don't need you to walk the order down to the warehouse. They need and want you for bonus experiences. And now that you have all that extra time and energy because your team is like totally kicking ass, you're not stressed about what's getting done or, what's not getting done. And you know where your money is going. You know how you're going to make payroll. So it doesn't feel like, yeah, right, how am I going to offer more to the people, to my clients, to my customers, I can barely give them like the baseline, right? So you're not in that place, in that scarcity mindset. So what can those like bonus experiences look like? They can look like a new product or a new service that would really serve your customers, or maybe they've even been asking for it, but you just haven't had the bandwidth to even start thinking about it. It could be a special phone call to thank them, to talk to them about something you think they would really enjoy. It could be, going to happy hour with one or, a handful of your clients and getting to know them more and allowing them to get to know you more and really strengthening those relationships. So whatever, extra loving you want to spread, you have the opportunity to do that because your head is free and clear and everything is being taken care of. So documenting, streamlining, and then really working it, really implementing it is the way that you can ensure that you are fulfilled in your business for the long run. And if you have any questions about what this could look like for your specific business, or if you want clarity on anything that we talked about today, by all means, please reach out. That is what we are here for. That is why we do what we do, is so that we can get you back to a place of fulfillment. So please don't hesitate to reach out.